Hey guys, what's up? Luke with ThinkVoxel here, coming at you today with another unboxing video, this time of EVGA's GeForce GTX 970 Super Clocked ACX 2.0 edition. Let's dive right in. So if you're somewhat in the know, you may be asking yourself, hey Luke, why a GTX 970 video now? And that would in fact be a very good question to ask, because as you may or may not know, the 2016 GPU Technology Conference is taking place next month, that is in April, and it's expected that NVIDIA will be unveiling their next generation of GPUs set to be released to consumers in the second half of this year. So on the cusp of a new generation of graphics cards, why do a video about a card that is shortly to be succeeded? I have two words for you: virtual reality. Another thing that's happening in just about a month is the consumer release of both the highly anticipated Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, and both of them will be built to spec with the GTX 970 in mind. That means if you don't currently have one of these guys, you're in for a subpar VR experience if your GPU can drive VR headset at all. Another reason to unbox this card right now is that this particular model has a habit of going on sale for right around $300, making it one of the most affordable VR-ready cards on the market. That is, if you catch it at the right place at the right time. Otherwise, it'll go somewhere around $350 instead. And what do we get for the money? Well, let's find out. So the box itself is pretty standard fare for EVGA. We've got this silver-themed front, advertising, of course, EVGA, as well as the card's 4GB of GDDR5 VRAM, and yes, the 970 does have 4GB of VRAM. The last 512 megabytes are just reduced speed for manufacturing reasons, and we also can see here that this is indeed a super clocked card. It comes with a base clock of 1190 megahertz and a boost clock of 1342 megahertz. So basically, if your GPU is running within acceptable temperatures and power consumption, it will automatically overclock itself during intense gameplay or rendering, so you get the best possible performance for your operating conditions, which honestly should be pretty good thanks to this ACX 2.0 cooling system. That stands for Active Cooling Extreme, and it definitely has positioned itself as a fan favorite among air cooling solutions. And of course, I could show you the back and the size of the card and whatnot, but really they just give us more ado about what we really want to see, what's inside. So let's go ahead and rip the plastic off here. Toss that aside. We can also get rid of this little insert, if you would like to call it, advertising ACX 2.0. You can read more about that on the side there. Throw that away. And let's see if we can get this bad boy right open. Looks like it is still taped up here, so we may have to break out the knife. A lot of times I have done this beforehand, but for this time I decided to make it a little bit more authentic and not actually cut anything until it was time to do it for the video. So here we go. We can go ahead and slide out everything here. While I'm dissecting this box, if you're curious about the rest of the card's specs, you will be happy to know that the GTX 970 comes packing 1,664 stream processors, or CUDA cores, giving it a texture fill rate of 109 gigatexels per second, and that's with a 256-bit interface, making for an overall memory bandwidth of 224 gigabytes per second. And before anyone asks, you will need at least a 500-watt power supply to run this card. Personally, I'd recommend a little bit more than that if you're planning to use this kind of thing for VR, since the VR headset itself will consume some power. Okay, so now we have all the contents out. We can see that on this side we do of course have our obligatory quick start guide and other user information that probably nobody ever really reads, as well as an EVGA poster here. This is kind of standard fare for EVGA. So you can see this is actually different than the one that I got last time. It's kind of neat. So if you are a fan of graphics cards, you can show off your graphics card pride there. We also do have a few things in here like EVGA stickers and badges for you to stick on your tower. Should be in here somewhere. Don't see one right now. Now, as far as the CD here goes, you can probably toss this aside with everything else too, unless for some reason you find yourself without an internet connection. Oh, there's that badge I was referring to. But unless you find yourself without an internet connection for some reason, you're really better off downloading the drivers off of NVIDIA's website. However, there is also some software on here that you should also download as well, but it'd be recommended anyway as extra software, EVGA Precision X, which is going to allow you to overclock your card and get some real-time stats and information, which you'll actually be able to see in benchmarks later on. Toss all that off to the side. And we also have in here a couple adapters. As you can see in this package, we have a couple Molex adapters. It looks like this one here is for 6 pins, and this one here is for 8 pins. So you have one Molex adapter for each of the 2 types of power connections you're going to need for this card. That way, if your power supply happens to be short on those connections, you can actually extend it. Actually here it looks like this is not a Molex adapter, but it looks like it adapts the 8 pin to 2 6 pins. So a couple different options there for you to expand the power capabilities of your power supply, but do be careful in doing that. Make sure that if your power supply doesn't have the ports you need, that it can even power this card at all. Additionally, we do have an adapter here that will allow you to use legacy displays with this card, so VGA to DVI-I. That I means that you can use both analog and digital. If it was a DVI-D, you'd only be able to do digital, so that's the difference there. And of course, now we do have the star of the show, the GTX 970 itself. Now, I'm actually a fan of this kind of plastic design as opposed to the anti-static bags that I usually see, because those make it so easy to drop cards and whatnot. This just pops right open, and here it is. So I'm definitely a fan of that decision. Nice job, EVGA. Let's see if we can get the card out now without breaking anything. One side is kind of tight, so do be careful of that. And we can see, of course, it's covered in all sorts of plastic here, which I will not bother to take off right now. Be sure to do that before you stick it in your PC, of course. So let's take a look at the card itself. This is actually a rather large card. It measures in at 10.1 inches by 4.4 inches, so definitely do your homework and make sure that you have the room in your case to actually fit this thing before you buy it. But despite being so large, it actually is quite nice looking for an oversized piece of hardware. As you can see, the cooling units here with some nice accents on the sides. No backplate, but personally I'm pretty okay with that. And you can always buy one separately if you really want one. And on the bottom of the card, if we just do a little tour, of course, we do have the PCI connection here. This is PCI Express 3.0, which is backwards compatible with 2.0 and 1.0, so don't worry if your motherboard doesn't support the absolute fastest specification. Not a whole lot of interesting things to look at on the other sides. Of course, we do have our copper heatsink pipes here. And on this side, we do have our power connections. Again, that is an 8-pin power connection and a 6-pin power connection. You will need both of them on your PSU to be able to power this thing. We do also have an SLI connection up here, if that's your thing. Supports 3-way SLI. And of course, the most important thing to most people is going to be the actual outputs of the card. So if we pop these caps off here, you'll see we have kind of an unusual configuration. Most cards I see have, maybe a DVI-I and a DVI-D, plus an HDMI and a DisplayPort, or something along those lines. But here we actually have something very different. We have 3 DisplayPorts with an HDMI smack in the middle of those 3, and then only one DVI-I, which of course can be adapted to VGA. So this is kind of a head scratcher, really. I mean, especially considering this as a virtual reality GPU, that HDMI is going to have to go to your Oculus Rift or your HTC Vive. You're not going to be able to use that for a regular monitor. So that means you're stuck with either DVI or DisplayPort for your monitor for regular usage. Granted, this card was designed before it was positioned as a virtual reality card, but all the same, that is definitely something to bear in mind. So I believe that actually concludes our tour of the card and the things in the box that will come with it. Overall, an excellent product as usual for EVGA, and of course something particularly special as a ticket to VR. The days are really counting down now to when we'll be able to get our hands on the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive for real, and I can't wait to pair them up with this card and see what it can do. Now before I go, I do want to make note that unlike my other GPU unboxing videos, this one will not be accompanied by benchmark videos making a direct comparison between this and some other GPU, like say for instance the GTX 960, because where'd be the fun in that? Oh no, no, no. This time, we're going to be doing a comparison between the GTX 970 and two GTX 960s running an SLI. Definitely feel free to check out those videos on this same channel if that sounds interesting to you. Also, on my last GPU video, I received a ton of questions about the card I was unboxing, which was actually this guy right here. And I'll do my best to respond to each and every one of them if you have any questions on the GTX 970. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did indeed like this video. For more on the GTX 970 and other great tech-related content, be sure to head on over to thinkboxly.com. And if you're an aspiring indie game developer, I have just the tools for you. One of my other projects called Edge Engine is now fully assimilated into ThinkBoxly, and you can check that out at engine.thinkboxly.com or by clicking the Edge Engine link at the top of the newly redesigned site to learn more. Once again, this has been Luke with ThinkBoxly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.